Hello and welcome to another episode of FTU Life After the Military. I'm your host, Tony Rodriguez, and today I'm joined by two repeat offenders, Chris and Tim. And because I like to yap a lot, I took a little bit of the time away from them the last time they were on here. And so I wanted to call them back. I respect them both. I think they both pretty smart guys. And I just wanted to give them the opportunity to talk about whatever they wanted to talk about. We were just discussing conspiracy theories. So if they want to go down that rabbit hole, by all means. I just watched the movie Leprechaun, and 30 years later, it's still just as crappy.
It holds
Discuss
up.
that.
You know, that was the very first movie that I snuck into the theater to see because it was rated R and I wasn't old enough to buy a ticket.
Yeah, I mean, I was just talking about that movie the other day with my wife, and Jennifer Aniston, she holds up too.
That's right, she was in that.
Mm-hmm.
I completely forgot about that.
I think it was her first one.
I think you're right.
Weird. Yeah, it was. They're running some sort of feature on channel Comet, and they're showing Leprechaun 1 through 4, and then Leprechaun in space.
Yep. I was like the second one where they had the big fan, and like the guy and like the fan looked like the naked woman, and the guy was like, "Oh, look at these naked women. This is definitely what happens in real life." And he puts his face into the fan and dies. I thought that was pretty realistic, honestly. I was a teenager, or maybe no, I wasn't even a teenager. I was probably 8 or 9 when I saw it, so I was real excited to see that. So I can't wait till I'm old enough to see a naked lady in a garage.
Because there's so many of them in garages.
Well, when I was a kid, I thought a lot of things were going to happen when I was an adult. I thought there was going to be a lot more quicksand. There's not. Like, there was definitely a lot of threat of quicksand when I was a kid, based on all the shows that I was watching, And so, if there's a lot of quicksand, there could have been a lot of naked ladies in garages. Who knows?
That's true. Like, so much of my life was informed by movies of the 80s. Like, pretty sure that's why I joined the Army. I grew up on Missing in Action and Commando and Rambo. That's what I thought the Army was going to be like. I was sorely disappointed.
Yeah. I thought it was going to be more like a Van Damme movie where, I go AWOL and then I end up in some sort of underground karate tournament, breaking bricks with my bare fist. Not at all.
All the above, yeah. I joined on a whim, and that's literally the only thing I knew about the military. I had nobody in my family was in the military except for like an uncle that didn't really talk about the military at all. No, not like because he was in crazy stuff, just because he didn't talk about it. And so all of my military experience before I joined the military was based on 80s movies. So I thought I was going to die in a war that wasn't even happening. There was no war when I joined. I'm like, there'll be a war. I'm going to last like 10 minutes tops. And that's it. That'll be the end of me. So hopefully no war happens. Like some extra character. It did. And there was so many of them. They keep coming.
I thought it was funny, though. Tim, last time we talked, you were saying how you got out and you went into the reserves. You went to the Middle East more in the reserves than I did my entire time in active duty.
Right, yeah. But again, like last time, that was because in the reserves is a bit of a different animal with civil affairs in that, they're always short people, like always. So they're always trying to fill the gaps and moving people from other units temporarily to fill those spots. So I could hop on anything I wanted to go on and get there. And I hated the garrison life in the reserves. It was awful. Didn't like it. It was not that it was awful. I just didn't like it. So I figured if I was going to be in the military, I might as well be doing my job instead of training to do it one weekend a month.
So did they not mention any other part of the planet?
What do you mean?
Like, hey, you can go to Africa or?
Oh yeah, like Hoa was a mission that was,
Oh, I think Tim might have froze.
So it's trying to reconnect.
So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of missions for the reserves in the civil affairs to go anywhere they want. But during that time, though, it was like for him, I know it was.
Am I back?
the surge in Iraq, the surge in Afghanistan, those were all happening at the same, around that time. So even if you wanted to go somewhere
What
else,
the
I'm sure there
shit?
wasn't a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just like, more power to him, man, because he's telling me, it's like, yeah, I went back 3 more times. 3 more times?
Mm-hmm.
Jumping Jehoshaphat's. Like, I said, that's enough for me, man.
He was volunteering. Yeah, he just kept going. I mean, he always liked that part of the military. It was the all the other nonsense that kind of pushed him out of the active side. All the
I
garrison
mean,
nonsense.
once you get used to, like, hey, man, like, we have to put the miles on the vehicles, and your dental is the most important thing that's ever happened in the history of the world.
Right.
Make
Yeah, I
sure that
think
the vehicles are online. We haven't moved them in 5 months. You got to make sure that they're online still.
it's.
It's pretty easy.
I think for me, it was always like the fake crisis. Everything was a crisis, even though it was like not a crisis ever. Like we've definitely lived through crisis, on actual combat deployments, and you come back and you're like, this is not a crisis. Y'all need to calm down. Like this is silly. And once you understand that, then you can calm people down, and eventually, hopefully, you can get to a position where you have some authority to calm people down and like get everyone to chill out. But if you're not in that position, and you're that young soldier, and you just like you've been to combat, or you've been on a deployment or 2 or 3 or 5 or whatever, and you have these young or not so young NCOs or officers above you that just haven't done that, and they're just like everything is a crisis always, and you again said like dental is the most important thing, and he just gets real annoying as a young soldier for sure.
Back to him?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right. Sorry about that. That literally never happened.
No, that's fine. The thing is, like, your picture was like so perfect, it didn't look like you had frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So we were still talking to you for a few seconds afterwards. Like,
I could
yeah, I
still
think
hear you even after you mentioned that I was gone.
Oh.
Okay.
It was weird.
Right.
It just like completely booted me off the platform.
We were talking a lot of crap about you, so I'm glad at least you heard it.
That's fair. That's fair. Deservedly so.
No, we were saying.
So, like, I was asking Chris, it's like, you never considered, like, I don't know, going somewhere else? Was that an option for you?
It was. Yeah, the Horn of Africa was a mission that was ongoing while I was there. I don't know. It didn't seem as entertaining. I don't know if that's the right word, but it was. You hear about people who talk about getting. I don't want to say getting addicted to it, but for the lack of a better word, I mean, you kind of do sometimes. When you come back home, and that whole scene at the end of what's that movie?
The Hurt Locker.
Thank you. Yes, where he's standing in that cereal aisle and he's just like, "What the hell am I doing here?" That I crapped on that movie for many years. That was the most realist part of that movie. The part of the movie that really made sense to me.
Maybe the only realist part of that movie. I think everything else was unrealistic.
Yeah,
but for sure that part.
Sure. And it just like the volume on everything else just got turned down when I was back here and back in civilian life, quote unquote, and it just didn't. I missed it, honestly, until I realized why that was so messed up.
So last time, like, we ran out of time, Tim. But I don't know if you had any comments or any advice or just anything about mental health. Because, like I was saying, we were talking about that one gentleman I met up with on LinkedIn, and his story is pretty epic. How you look at his picture on LinkedIn, he's a young E5 ready to take on the world, and where he is now, it's like, whew, it's drastic change in
again?
17 years.
Can you hear me? No.
Oh, I think he froze again.
What is going on here?
Double tap.
It's awesome because his picture is always just so, it's like perfect, so it's like, is he frozen or is he on?
I love the Evil Dead stuff in the background. It's like my favorite movie. So the fact that he has both the shotgun and the hand chainsaw just makes me happy. I wouldn't be surprised if he made that chainsaw because he does make those props, which is pretty cool. He has that prop company. To ask him.
Tim was making right now. I don't know if you watched South Park like in the later years, but they were doing one about the COVID, right?
Yeah,
and Eric Cartman, they were doing classes online, over Zoom, and Eric Cartman every day would do his little trick work, and he would pretend he would freeze, and then he would get like a little picture and put it in himself, and then he'd go out and play for the rest of the day.
I mean,
I'm like, man,
honestly,
is Tim doing that to us?
Might be. I wouldn't mind doing that. Not the job I'm in now, but if I had a crap job, I definitely would do something similar. Like, oh man, this Wi-Fi is just not good.
So where are you working now?
I work for 26 Technologies. It's a government contract company, like every other veteran out there.
Well, yeah, I'm doing that too.
Yeah, I honestly wasn't gonna do it though. I live in like central North Carolina, and it's about the same distance to get to Fort Liberty as it would be to get to Raleigh. And Raleigh has the Raleigh Research Triangle. It's like it's so much stuff up there. So I had some good leads with Cisco and some other biochem companies doing project management, doing consulting, stuff like that. And a buddy of mine, actually an old civil affairs buddy, Marcus Foreman, saw me on LinkedIn, and he said, hey man, I see you on LinkedIn. I see you retiring. So, I have this buddy who works this company, has this really cool tech. I think you should give him a call. And when you get out of the military, especially during COVID time, it's 2020, December 2020. I was like, heck yeah, let me do that. Please call, figure out what's going on. And when I saw the tech, and I was like, man, if I had this when I was civil affairs, if I had this even in the infantry as an infantry officer, it would have saved lives for sure. And so I jumped on board. And the company culture is, not to blow them up, but it's phenomenal. And I really, really like working there. So it's been a really good fit. I get to stay in, the loop. Like for like the last year of the military, I was really trying to not get away from current event stuff, but really get away from it a little bit. You know what I mean? I don't have to like pay super much attention to it anymore. And then I didn't realize how much I missed that, So it kind of hits the travel button for me. It hits the, staying up on current events, especially, the global stuff going on now. It's interesting. A lot of the operations you see in the news, we're involved in some way or another, supporting, the soldiers, supporting DOD. So it's pretty cool.
You back, Tim?
I am. I don't know what's going on, man. I apologize. I'm sure that's very, very annoying for you guys.
I don't know. You said your wife's doing a podcast too, right? Maybe it's just
we've never had a bandwidth issue like that before. It's like the internet just keeps dropping out altogether. Like it keeps losing connection. Anyway,
maybe California's infrastructure problems are creeping over into Arizona. I don't know.
What do you mean, maybe?
I mean, that's where they get all the power from, isn't it? Those dams you guys got?
Yeah. It's funny. I was just there a couple of weeks ago too in San Francisco. That was an interesting time at the airport. Let me tell you.
I was there last year. It was pretty bad. I can't imagine what it's like right now.
Yeah, I didn't go anywhere except the hotel and the airport and the customer. That was it.
Yeah. I mean, I think when I went up to San Francisco, I think that was the best part, was just driving around so I could sightsee, but I didn't really want to stop anywhere and get out.
Yeah.
Lock all the doors on the way out.
Yeah, all the zombies, man. It's crazy.
I mean, I stopped so I could get clam chowder, then got back into the cabin. Like, let's keep on going.
Yeah. Sad state of affairs up there.
So,
hey Tim, do you still have that? You still have that prop company? Did you make those props in the background?
I did, yeah, actually.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. They look just like the movie.
They better, because the chainsaw is actually, I found the exact model that they used in the movie on eBay for like $20, and I gutted it, and then basically turned it into the same thing.
Does it work?
No, well, it did when I bought it.
I mean, does it work? Did you make it a chainsaw?
No, I had to pull the engine out.
Okay.
It's the only way you can actually fit your hand inside of it.
Got it. Man, that makes me sad. The movie really hyped me up with you having like a hand chainsaw. It's my favorite movie. So, or favorite movie series.
It is fantastic. Did you watch the show? Ash
Oh
versus
yeah,
Evil
oh
Dead?
yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah,
I wish
it's
they kept going
fantastic,
with it.
dude. I know,
Yeah.
same.
I love
Yeah,
Sam
that was a
Raimi
great
too.
show. Yeah, he does some good stuff.
Yeah.
I
That'd, that'd
did
be
a
kind of a
proton pack.
problem, though, walking around with a chainsaw in your hand that actually worked.
It's not a problem with the zombies around. Speaking of
Plus, he
San
had the
Francisco.
option in the third movie. He could change it out to a mechanical hand.
Yep.
What was that? Army of Darkness, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was also an awesome like iPhone game back 10 years ago, like the old iPhones. I
I still
played the
have that
crap out
game.
of it. I love it. I used to beat it. I loved it. I used to beat it
I've,
over and over.
yeah, I've played it multiple times
Hmm.
for that very reason.
I should probably re-download it. I didn't think it was still around.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's still around because I have an Android. It just kept every time I switched phones, it just kept reloading it onto my phone.
Nice. It's so fun. It's like the
Yeah, so it's funny, Chris, so you're talking about how you're transitioning out and like you ended up being a contractor. I also was just, I don't know, wanted to get away from the military, but ended up taking that job just as a placeholder for about a year. And then I realized, why am I running away? I don't know about you guys, but like in the military, every time I got into a new position, I was trying to figure out like, how do I get into my next position, right? To like kind of move up.
yeah.
And I kind of
I
carried
would.
that over into
I was doing
this.
that up until right before I left. When I was about to be moved into, I was about to be up for E7, and I was like, I don't want any part of that. I'm out of here.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
did. My career was so strange, man, because I did stuff like basically like 5 year blocks. So I did like when I met you all, the Avenger repairman, right? Back when I first enlisted, out of nowhere, I know again had no idea what the military even really was. I picked the Army out of a hat for the most part. Basically, it came on to the Army and Navy, and I was like, I don't want to be on a ship for 6 months with a bunch of dudes, at a time, and then flash forward, within 2 years, I was in a tent with a bunch of dudes, like 40 people in a GP medium, like with like bunk beds for 6 months or more.
Living the submarine life in a tent.
Yeah, that's what it was for sure. But it was like 5 year chunks. So like Avenger repairman 5 years, since civil affairs and that first became a thing. Then I did that 5 years enlisted. Commissioned as an officer to the infantry life for 5 years. Loved that. And then came back to Fort Bragg, now Fort Liberty. And I was at SWIC working out there at Camp McCall for 5 years. So just, and that was like project management. So like just kept these chunks. And like you, Rod, I was looking for just something different. I get kind of antsy around the 4 year mark. Like, okay, now what's next? Got to find something. It's not like let's find something, kind of similar. It's like let's go something completely different. Let's go, civil affairs to enlisted as infantry officer. Like let's go from infantry to project management, which is a little closer, I guess. But so when I transitioned to the contracting world, I was like, I want to do something completely different. But I ended up supporting the same people I was working with towards the end of my career, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy mentoring soldiers, and I have that opportunity a lot of times. Like every day, I'm talking with soldiers and about they're always coming and asking questions about what did I do, what do I do, not just the tools we have in the company, but also life experience, and it just kind of checks that box for me. Makes me feel like I'm still giving back to this young generation.
That's great. And I like hearing that because I like my job because I like the people I work with, right? There's some retirees and there's some people who have no idea what the military was. They're completely out. And so I go to work and I do my job. I'm an analyst, instructor, provide classes for these people. Um, but here's the information. If you want to go further, we can talk about it. If you don't, I'm not going to be offended if you don't listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
You're an adult. You did this and you can go die for your country. You might not be able to buy cigarettes or drink. You can die for your country.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you don't want to listen to me, I'm not going to be offended. Like, I'm not. If you want some talk about stuff, we can, about military life or whatever. And there's that good balance now. There's that separation. And that's what I like. And
Yeah.
also, I think I told you both, I'm working on a PhD.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I can't wait
Well,
to call
what's
you
crazy
doctor.
is I realized, Jumper Jehoshaphat's, I'm an expert on geopolitics.
It's fair.
And it's like, what I need is a PhD and just to have some articles written. And so I'm in the process of writing two articles, one for SWIC and one for JSAL, and then I'm going to have contributed to two chapters in two different books. It's like this is I don't know if it should be this easy to be considered an expert or if I'm just a like total fraud. I'm just pulling the wool over everybody's eyes.
Maybe you
the
just
thing
want to be
about
called
being
doctor. Yeah.
right. That's the thing about being an expert, though, man. Is like, what really is an expert? An expert is someone who just knows more than I do about a subject.
Yeah.
And I would say that you know more on that subject than 99.9% of the people in the world. So that in turn makes you an expert.
And that's what makes me laugh is like people ask me questions like, you're asking me? I'm still surprised by it. Like, you sure you look around, it's like, there's somebody else here? It's like, no, I want to know your opinion. Oh, okay. Sure.
You
So,
mentioned that. Do you guys? And I have come across this myself multiple times. It kind of doesn't even matter in what job field or what I'm doing. Is I always feel the imposter syndrome is like on top of me all the time. Is that just me, or do you guys have you ever felt that?
I've felt it over my career for sure. Matter of fact, my wife Carmen, she feels it like crazy. I married up for sure. She just finished her psychiatric or mental health nurse practitioner degree, and then she
Nice.
board certified first time. Like she's working in these like forensic groups that helps to solve cold case murders with like the leading forensic experts from around the world. So she's always like,
That's
she
awesome.
has that imposter syndrome like really, really bad. I'm like, Carmen, you are amazing. And she's like, nah, I don't even belong in these groups. I'm like, if you didn't belong in those groups, like you wouldn't be in those groups. So I think like, Tim, I think it's more common than people think it is, especially like you said, with, Rod being an expert on geopolitics or those kind of things for sure.
So yeah, I used to, Tim, I really like this PhD program because the support that I get from the other people in the cohort and all the cohorts, because it's a newer program, it only came out in 2020. I don't think I didn't experience this type of support in the military. And what I realize is like for me, not only in the cohort, but in my job, I'm like that bridge in between the military life and just the normal people. So I can explain things to the normal people when they don't I don't understand all those letters that just came out of their mouths. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like none of that applies to us. Don't worry about it.
Right.
Or when what a regular person is having an issue at work, I can explain it to the military people. Hey, bro, what you said is appropriate to like the military. But these are just regular people. You can't like drop F-bombs left and right when you're talking to regular people. That's inappropriate. It's like, oh, I didn't mean it. It's like, yeah, I understand. You just got to catch yourself. So I'm not going to say I'm 100% confident in who I am and what I do, but I'm a good 75%er. So when I look to my left and my right, it's like, I'm not the best, but I'm doing enough so I can stand here with you guys.
Well, that makes sense. I get that.
It's the old Sock'em 75%.
Well, you've always been a high achiever, Rod. I mean, just speaking of Sock'em, like that's not an easy course to get through by any means. And like you also had kind of a strange path as a career, throughout.
Well, I was telling Tim, it's like I earned what was that? A fail grade Article 15 and a general letter of reprimand. Woo! They don't just give those out. You earn those.
You definitely earned those.
I had an instructor at Redstone who said you couldn't be a truly great technician unless you had at least one Article 15.
That was definitely the generation for sure. Because I mean, all those first sergeants we had back in the 82nd and Sergeants Major, like they had multiple Article 15s, and
sure.
DUIs and the like.
Well, I won't mention him by name, but you remember that squad leader that we had, um,
Oh yeah, yeah.
Snoop, who
Yeah.
was on like his third or fourth, and I don't even know how he was still in the army at that point.
Well, one, I remember showing up to Redstone, right? And then our drill sergeant for the Echoes was
Dynamite.
Parker, right?
Yeah, Dynamite.
Yeah. Didn't he
Yeah,
had just
I
come
know.
off like extra duty or something?
Yeah, I think he
I
did.
remember he had gotten in trouble for I don't know if he got a DUI or if he like smacked his wife around. I'm not making light of it, but I know he had gotten in trouble. It's like, wow, this is odd.
Redstone was crazy, man. That whole experience, like coming from basic and then going into that, and being there for so long. And you guys were even
Yeah,
there even longer than I was, I think. It was
I was
just
there for about 6 months, I think.
okay. They were about the same then, yeah. And I was on night shift too, so there was even like more removed, and so that was really cool for a while. For like last couple months, is like really nice to be removed from everything, except for when people got in trouble during the day. Then you got woken up, like your day got ruined, your whole sleep cycle got ruined. But I remember specifically, actually, young Timmy Diggs, getting in trouble one time for something that I don't know if I want to mention on here, but we all got smoked. The whole company got smoked because you were out front getting smoked, and we were all watching you because
Yeah,
I think you
you
left
guys were
something.
doing morning PT, and I was getting dragged
Mm-hmm.
through the mud.
That's right. Yep.
I remember that.
That's the
Yeah, that
first
was the
night.
morning. I remember that. That was the morning after I moved into the Marine barracks,
Yeah, because
and
that's where I was at, the
I,
Marine Barracks. Yeah.
and I didn't get any sleep that night because the asshole that was in the room before me left all his locks on the lockers, so I couldn't put any of my shit away. And so I'm up all night trying to find bolt cutters from somebody who could let me into the closets so I could put my stuff away so I wouldn't get jacked up the next day.
Yeah. You
But
got
yeah,
jacked
there was
up.
only, I know, right? There was only one way that night was playing out, and it's exactly how it did.
I Man, that was it was like 24 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
That's
remember what was his name? There was one guy who he had like a lot of chest hair, right? He might have left, or he might have done this after you guys left for airborne school.
Oh, I know who
But
you're talking about.
and he shaved a big giant E into his
oh yeah.
chest hair.
Yeah.
His
It's like, what are you doing, bro?
his last name was Spots. He was crazy. Oh, he was in my class.
Was he?
Which just funny
Yeah.
how we get so detached from being like isolated in basic training, and then in Redstone you're still not allowed off until you phase up.
Yeah.
Hmm. I
Man.
thought that was such
I,
a ripoff, the whole phasing up thing.
yeah. I don't know. I had fun. We go to those the econo lodges, and first time I ever saw well, first time I ever saw a prostitute, like the real Echo Lodge prostitutes. And then I forget who it was. Even if I remember, I wouldn't say the name. Probably we're coming out of this party, like a hotel party, because we're all like 19 ish. I don't even think I was 19 yet. I was 19 yet. And we're coming out of one room, and the Econo Lodge, it was like a split, right? There was like a hallway between the two, like, basically in between the buildings, splitting it. And we're coming around, and then there's definitely a prostitute there, like an old, not attractive Huntsville, Alabama prostitute. And she's like, "Hey, $20," and he's like, "How about 5?" I thought he was joking. And then they went behind in the dumpster area. And I grew up. I turned into a man in Huntsville. I went to a wedding in one of the towns, like the next town's over. I forget I'm not good with the names. So one of the kids who's always on extra duty all the time married a stripper in a church. That's the first time I ever was, half buzzed in a church. That was interesting.
Yeah, good times in because I never figured out like why are the people in Huntsville, why are they so standoffish against the military? Like what? But now I know.
That
Now
makes
I
sense.
understand.
Yeah.
I don't know if you
Because I
remember it
remember
or if you
you
ever
remember
went
Quinn,
there.
right?
Yeah.
You guys
Yeah.
remember
Oh, yeah.
Quinn?
Oh yeah, I talked to him a couple years ago. He's getting ready. He thought about joining the military again, but then he ended up having a kid or two.
It happens.
Oh yeah.
Is
Well,
he still at the
one
mill?
night, on a Saturday, I was asleep, and he comes. I was in the Alpha Company barracks.
Mm-hmm.
So not in the Marine barracks and up in Shangri-La, the Ivory Tower, but just a little level below.
Drill Sergeant Central.
He comes pounding on my door. Right, it's like midnight or 1 a.m, and he's covered in blood. It's like, what the hell happened? And he's like talking, super fast. I don't understand anything he's saying. He went out to the club with one of the other guys, and they ended up getting in a fight. And like 5 guys beat up the other guy, and 2 of them held Quinn down so he couldn't do anything. It's like, what should I do? It's like, oh, you should probably tell a drill sergeant because I don't see how you're going to keep this one quiet. It's like, where's the other guy? He's in the hospital. You should probably tell the drill sergeant because you're probably not going to keep this one quiet, man.
That's crazy.
So I gave him my jacket. It's like, here's my jacket. So cover yourself up because you look like you were in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right? It's like okay. And so of course he goes over to his barracks, goes upstairs, goes to his room, and goes to sleep. It's like, awesome, dude. So the next morning I get called out. Like, what the hell happened? It's like, I don't know. I was asleep.
You're like,
I'm sorry.
"Oh, it's my fault."
It's like, this guy's in the hospital. Do you know what? I don't know anything. I don't know where I am. I don't know my name. I'm sorry for everything. And eventually, Quinn, I think he just got like extra duty or something. They didn't do anything too bad to him. And the other guy, he was supposed to go to airborne, but like they injured his wrist, so they took it out of his contract and sent him to Fort Campbell instead.
Sucks. We'll wait for the best. You never know. Maybe he liked it up there.
I don't know. It was always just an interesting time at Redstone.
It was for sure. The Marine barracks weren't all they were cracked up to be all the time. There was a lot of Marine drill instructors in there who did not like us at all being in their building. They hated us. They let us know every chance they got.
I was on night shift, so I didn't deal with any of that piece. It was nice to be away, and like we had a little party over there. Sometimes we had a little break area, so that was super chill. Except for when people screwed up and I had to get up, and and our PT was really hard. Who was that? Was he European? Was it drill sergeant? Billingsley,
Oh,
yeah.
Panama. He was from Panama, wasn't he?
Panama. Okay, yeah. That dude
was a
run
beast.
the crap out of us. And remember that hill that was like that? There wasn't many hills around there, but there was that one hill that was like stupid. Every day we would run to that and do like sprints up and down it. Like I was in good shape for airborne school, so that was fine. But I was gonna throw up every single day, and he was just us. It was like a platoon of people, not even a platoon, maybe 2 squads, and he would just smoke the crap out of us because he could just run forever.
Yeah,
His kryptonite was sit-ups. He couldn't do sit-ups.
Oh, okay. Wow.
They sent him for the drill sergeant of the year competition. The first sergeant was all pissed off because,
oh yeah,
God damn it, you can't. The Tice, remember?
Yeah. He was.
I want to win, privates.
That dude was worked for my uncle. The one guy in my family was in the military. He was stationed with my uncle when he was a private. My uncle was a sergeant over in Germany. They knew each other.
Oh wow!
And then I saw him
That's
again
crazy.
on one of our deployments. I don't forget if it was the first Afghanistan or Iraq one I was on, but he was a sergeant major. I saw him again.
I liked him. I didn't have a problem with that guy.
No, it's fine.
Now, the ones we had in the Deuce,
Well,
I wasn't too fond of.
The one, but I learned a lot from him too, man. I talk a lot of crap, and he always had our back. Well, we always got smoked, but he always had our backs against everybody else.
Who was that? Alfie?
No, Brown. Joey Brown.
Oh, JoJo. You're talking about JoJo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
It was
care
okay for
JoJo.
him to mess with you, but nobody else was going to mess with you.
So he liked you guys. He hated me because I was older.
And
he made it perfectly clear that he did not like me in any way, shape, or form.
It
I don't
probably was he couldn't
understand
push
that.
you around as much, honestly, man, because he
Oh, that
just
makes sense actually.
like it's probably got threatening because we were young, man. I was like 19 when I went to 82nd. Like that was he was around when I was like 19 and 21. It was so
Yeah, I don't know. Him, Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice was a character, man.
F that guy, man. He's the whole reason we lost all that stuff in Iraq. That when all our tents burned down. That's completely on
Oh,
him.
come on, that was a good time.
Yeah, that was good times, all right. It was something. We had good morale only because we had each other, but that was a complete what not to do as a senior NCO. Like looking back at
Camaraderie
these
through
things,
misery.
like understanding like what real leadership looks like and like what real NCO. And man, I would love to go back and talk to these guys and like, what were you thinking? Like, why would you ever do that? Like, where was your like
Rico
leadership at that
Suave
point?
was trying to get as many girlfriends as he could. He didn't have time to bother with soldiers.
Beetlejuice?
Rico Suave, the
Oh,
company
Rico.
commander.
The company commander.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I forgot about that dude too.
And he was
But
like
That's
I
best
mean,
friends with the Raytheon rep Hector. He like,
mm-hmm.
oh god, he was in love with Hector. Like he was always over there drinking Heinekens in Hector's
Mm-hmm.
tent.
Meanwhile, our
I
tents
mean,
burned down.
I have never seen so many sergeant majors like be upset. Hey, why are you dressed like that? It's like my tent's burned up. I'm so sorry. I'm so
That
sorry.
was. I mean, that was good. That was fun.
Instantly.
Yeah. We were running around with like all mixed up, uniforms and PTs and whatever. I had a whole full set of PTs because I was wearing it because we were building the gym because it was like New Year's Day. I was building the gym with everybody, but I was one of the only ones that had like a full set of something. Most people's like half of something or half something else, and we were all like singing cadence, like Iraq, marching around like screw it, we're gonna sing cadence. We had high morale, but only because we were like so mad at everybody, all the leadership up and down for not
We
sticking
had
up.
nothing else to lose after that point.
Oh yeah, I was just done. I was over it.
I try to explain to people that we were in the most hated platoon, in the most hated company, in the most hated battalion, in the most hated brigade of
Mhm.
all of the 82nd Airborne Division.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, we were a Cav. I mean,
No, but even the Cav, at least they're like, okay, wow, whatever. Like, but they're a bunch of assholes. But at least it seemed like they stuck together.
that's fair. Yeah.
They were the redheaded
Like our own
stepchild, and
command
we were
didn't
below
like
that.
us because you guys are like electronics.
Yeah. No, that's true.
I'm sorry that I have a brain and I can use it. Sorry, bro.
Sorry, my
I don't know what
GT
to tell
score
you.
is higher than yours. But we weren't like arrogant. It wasn't like that. It was just I don't know why. It was we would just I wouldn't outthink. We would think through problems and find efficient ways to do things. And it would make people mad. And I think like Beetlejuice specifically, first time Wallace, that dude, he was an idiot. Like maybe not, I don't know. I was a young soldier, so it's a different perspective, but he did not like being told. He did not like people solving the problem in their own way. Is probably a better way to say it. And I think he was threatened by it. Getting away from like the name calling and stuff. But he made himself look like an idiot because of it.
So I don't feel bad about using the name calling because I'm not in the army anymore and we no longer have ranks.
No, that's fair.
And I would have no problem telling JoJo and Beetlejuice straight to the face exactly what I think about them. I'm not going to go out of my way to do it,
right.
But you're not hiding behind your rank anymore.
No, I think that's fair. I when I look back at that stuff, again, it's from different perspective. So like going through, all the different, leadership challenges that I've been through, etc.
Yeah.
So it's like more just perspective. Like from where I was as a young private or specialist or young sergeant, looking at like, this is crazy. What is going on? You must be an idiot. And then now it's like, well, yeah, maybe you were an idiot, but maybe it was just you were more threatened by people who could solve problems better than you, or maybe because you were older than Brown or whatever it was. Like it's just more of a different perspective versus just like calling names. Like that's really what I was trying to say. Because the one thing I did like about the very one thing I liked about Wallace was the PT we did when he lined everybody on two lines. We run it and get that. The sandbag in the middle, and then he called people out. That was fun. I do that a couple times, like later as out in different positions I was in. That was super fun. But that was it. That for like the whole time he was in our leadership at all. That was the only one thing. Everything else was he's an idiot. He couldn't remember.
No,
He couldn't like pull down the C-17 door because he's too short. Couldn't do a
I
door check. Like,
enjoyed
what are you doing? Why are you even a jump master on this thing? It's so crazy.
I enjoyed the feud that he had with Dodson the whole time he was there.
Oh yeah, that's
The
right.
whole haircut feud, that was so entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just was like refused to get a haircut, and then like we did that thing for charity towards the end of him being the first sergeant to auction off who got to throw the pie in his face.
the cream pie,
And like
yeah.
yeah, and everybody like chipped in and bought Dodson the pie so he could do it, and that was very satisfying. I remember that.
I do remember that.
But my personal opinions are just that. My personal opinion is based off of my experience with those individuals, right? And they're like I said, like there are people in the military who are in the military retired will say, "Hey, Tony, he's an okay guy." There are also a lot of people, probably a mile long, of people who's like, "That guy, he's a dick." Okay, both things can be true,
That's fair. That's fair.
right? And whatever else I thought of Beetlejuice, the Army provided both of us an opportunity because I was
Yeah.
going nowhere fast.
Same.
And say whatever you want. That guy got promoted to first sergeant,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he had to have done something right. He knew something. I might not have agreed with him. I might not have liked him personally, but you can't take that away from him. You can't take it away from JoJo. I don't like
that's
JoJo.
fair. But
Don't
That's
like
very
JoJo.
here's the one thing I would like counter with. Not counter. It's not a counter. I agree with everything you just said. 100%. Everything you said is spot on. Like the Army, I say it all the time. Like I would be a different person. I'd be a different place. I might not be alive if it wasn't from the military. Like 100%. Like I have a lot of friends that died in the military. The majority of them was suicide, unfortunately. But I have even more friends from like high school that died during the opiate crisis. They're still, going through that. And it's not to say I would be in that, but more likely to have been in it. You know what I'm saying? Knowing where I come from. But that whole, again, that we laugh and joke about that tent that's burning down on New Year's Day in 2004 in Iraq, because no one died, but everyone could have died. Somebody could have died. All of our basic loads were in those tents, and it was all going off around us. It was like by the grace of God that nobody died. Because people were sleeping in those tents, like it. So like those kind of situations, and there was a couple of situations, throughout my career in the infantry specifically, where I had an S3 who we would go to the same poo sites every single time that stupid blimp came down, and they would like send out like whatever platoon from whatever all the different bases were on QRF that day. They're like, "Oh, go to the poo site." Like, and I went to them, and I was a senior, I was a lieutenant, but I was E7 before I was a lieutenant. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a more senior person, more perspective. Had gone through the stupid tent thing, so I had more perspective. And not to rant here, but I was like, "Hey, man, hey, sir, hey, major. I know I'm a lieutenant, but you're gonna get somebody effing killed. Like, I'm tired of doing this. We're all going to the same places. We're all trained the same. We're not in the same bases, so we're not talking to each other about exactly how we're going in and out of these places. Somebody's gonna get killed." And it was a big fight, and my commander had to step in. Luckily, I was well respected in the company and the battalion, so it didn't, amount to much, in punishment wise. But he had to step in on my behalf because I was fired up, man. I was like on the radio fired up, and then I went and was fired up when I got to his office. And within like 2 or 3 days, we almost lost. One of our Lieutenant Nathan Rimpf, lost his legs because of that stupid mission. And then they kept doing it afterwards, and that kind of stuff that that S3 did, that battalion commander let happen, just like the same stuff that Wallace, for the piss poor decision they made with this tent situation. We should not live in those tents. It didn't make any sense when he had a perfectly hard stand buildings, in the center of the compound. Like those kind of decisions are what like fired me up to become a better leader, and fires me up still. Obviously, I'm kind of fired up thinking about it. Of like, again, while we can laugh about it, it's like, man, we're lucky that God was protecting us that day. Honestly.
So 2 points. One, going through this program, I learned that there's a big difference between leadership and management.
Mm-hmm.
And the majority of what goes on in the military, it's management, and there's nothing wrong with that.
That's fair.
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's not leadership. Maybe if I'm lucky, it's 2% of the people I encountered in my military life were actually leaders. and the rest were just managers. I was a manager. I know that. So now I'm trying to be a leader,
Sure.
right? And two, and more importantly, Chris, I don't know if you understand this, but those tents were treated with kerosene to make them water resistant.
Bro, I
Okay.
know. We should probably tell this story of like, because this is going to be really lost on people because we're talking around it. We should tell like the entire story of like what
Well,
happened.
go ahead because
All right.
I still get a little bitter about it.
All right. I'll tell. So
I
we were
left
at,
a great guitar in that tent.
yeah. So the base changed names a bunch of time. I guess what was it? Ridgeway was probably the final name it was because it was like TQ.
Yeah.
So I'll call it Ridgeway.
Yeah.
So we're at Camp Ridgeway in Iraq near Fallujah, Ramadi area. It's 2003, and we were put up. We were the first ones at this base. Our platoon took over this jet hangar. So protected jet hangar, completely protected because otherwise the Iraqis would have got blown up all the time by all of our air stuff throughout the 90s and 2000s, right? So we're hanging
Yeah,
out.
it was a hardened bunker.
Hardened bunker. It was like really nice. Doors, these huge steel doors that we could close, and we had this little tiny door we could open with it. And we got there in the summer, September, so it was hot still. And we had a bunch of Class 4 that we acquired because we were really good at acquiring things in our platoon. And we're going to make rooms, and everything was all set up, right? And people got upset that we had this, and they didn't, I think. This is my perspective. But they wanted us closer to the rest of the battalion, rest of the company, which was about a mile away. And we would walk over there, whatever, we'd run, we took our vehicles over there. But they wanted to have us closer so they can, for whatever reason. We're still going to work in this area, but we weren't going to sleep there anymore. So all of the NCOs, myself included, young E5, just turned E5 basically a few months before, we all came together as a platoon, and we went to the first sergeant, who was also the acting sergeant major, and said, hey, we don't think it's a good idea. Like, for one, we have this hardened bunker that we have improved upon. It's clean, it's protected. We have heaters, so everything's gonna be warm, and we're gonna continue to improve this position. And he took our advice, he took all of this, and he threw it in the toilet and flushed it hard. And he's like, no, you will move over here, and I'm the sergeant major, and this is what's going to happen. Because we had nowhere else to go to, because the next step's the sergeant major. Well, the commander didn't care. He was too worried about his parents or whatever. And we ended up moving right around December. So right as the temperatures are really getting cold, we move over these tents, which, like you said, Rod, were treated in kerosene, because that's what you do in the desert to help protect it from wind, right? And then they were wired by, I still don't know what country the contractors were from, but some contractors came, not American contractors, came in and wired all of these tents for power and for the ACs.
I thought they were locals, like local contractors.
I don't know if they were locals or not. They were, I don't remember. I don't even know if we were actually really new, if they were locals, but they were not Americans for sure. They were definitely either locals or they were brought in from another country as like just hired help to do that stuff.
Okay.
So platoon of people, we had like 40 some people, right? So we had like 10 tents. And on New Year's Day, we had like basically a day off, 2004, where myself, and you guys can tell where you guys were at, but for me, I was to like work out. We just got this gym equipment. So me and a couple of the guys were and some of the females were putting all the gym equipment together out of this Connex. We were really excited because before that we were using 45-pound, like the water jugs, and we'd have like the rickety benches. We had the guys who welded really well, and they put some stuff together for us, but it was rickety and dangerous. And so we were excited to get actual equipment. And I'll never forget this other woman, this young soldier from one of the companies, that walks over to us. And she's like, hey, are you guys in Bravo Company? I was like, yeah, what's up? She's like, I think your tents are on fire. And then nonchalantly walks away. And I'm like, wait, what did you just say? And I run over, and there's like a 2 or 3 or 4 of the tents are already on fire. So we're like, what the hell? And again, day off, right? So some people are sleeping. I was putting the gym together. Where were you guys at? Do you remember where you were at?
I was on gate guard. I was on gate guard with Snoop.
Yeah.
And we could see the smoke from the gate. And he comes over to me and he's like, "That looks like that's by our tents." I'm like, "Maybe." And then the smoke just got darker and thicker, and then it was gone because it
Yeah,
happened pretty fast.
I was actually down at the shop with Quinn because we by some chance we finally got some work in, right? So we was like, hey, let's go down there and check it out. And then yeah, sure enough, hey, look, there's a lot of smoke. I think our tents are on fire. And we saw the fire trucks going down the road. It's like, well, maybe they'll stop. And like, because our tent was at the end, it's like, maybe they'll save it. Then we hear, pa, 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 pa. Yeah, nobody's going near that. Like,
Yeah.
our stuff's gone.
So I'm there. So you guys were away. So I'm like right there, and again there was people like sleeping. So Sergeant Whitmer? I think it was Whitmer and Gibbs, right? Yeah. So Whitmer was there for sure, and he's going tented, like yelling, "Get up! There's a fire!" He's like grabbing stuff and throwing it out. Right. One of the kids, again, I'm just not good with names, so I apologize. One of the kids comes running out. He thought we were under attack because all of our basic loads of ammunition. Luckily, there weren't any explosives. They kept the grenades and stuff in the company arms area, which I think was just next to the commander's bunk. I'm not sure, but it was like in the company talk. But all of the 249, the M4 rounds, all of that stuff was just going off all around us. So it was like ding, ding, ding. What's that ding, ding, ding noise? It's like hitting the barn. It's like those are all the rounds. So now there's like we're all like, oh crap, we have to get out of here. So we're still trying to like go through the tents to make sure nobody's in the tents, and we're still unsure. So people are coming out. Like one kid came out with the helmet on and his underwear and his rifle, and he's like running up, and we're like within the wire, so I don't know what he thought, but he was asleep. He's heard a bunch of rounds going off.
Thought we were being overrun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that was actually a couple of kids, I think. But like we finally got everybody and got behind that barn as the rounds are just going off, thousands of rounds going off all around us. We're really lucky that nobody died, but we lost all of our stuff. And I think the cherry of it, you mentioned like when people found out that they were yelling at us being out of uniform, but then found out, what happened and we're sorry. But the cherry was when the lawyers came. We're like, hey, you can here's how you claim all this stuff. And young soldiers like we were, some of the kids, they would go to that little PX every single day and they would buy the DVDs and the CDs and the computers and whatever because they had nothing else to spend their money on, and they were addicted to, well, there's nothing else to do, so they would just get that kind of stuff. It's like you can only claim so many CDs. Like you obviously didn't have that many, so that you had like a cutoff of how much you could claim, and then a depreciative value. So I don't know about you. I think I got most of my money back because I claimed it the way they winked at us a little bit. But
Yeah.
it was really sad that at the end of the day, like you're not even going to get what was taken because it was obviously your fault that there was a fire. That's kind of how it felt.
Well, I don't know if you remember this. Well, first of all, 10 days. That's how long we lasted in the tents.
Yeah,
10
that's right. That's
days.
right.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
10 days. And it was cold. It was so cold. At the end of it, I was like, because they wouldn't let us build in that all the way in the that jet shelter, that we stopped. We were like, okay, well, we can't build whatever. So by the end, I was like, all right, I'm getting kind of cold, actually. It was getting a little cold in that thing because we didn't have enough heaters for everything until we ended up moving back in there like 10 days later. And that's where we spent the rest of our time.
But I remember initially they were talking about like, wow, I mean, you might not get reimbursed at all. Like that, oh, wow, you're in combat. Like you're not going to get anything. And I remember it was a brigade commander. He had just come in that year. And he's like, no, you're going to compensate these guys for what they lost. Like, I don't want to hear it. So good on him. I forget what his name was. He was an Asian guy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I forgot what his name.
I don't know what his name was either.
I get some friend. I married Carmen, and her dad is retired, Loggy 06, and his best friend retired Loggy 06. So like all of like our battalion commanders, all of them, they're all like we're buddies. They all knew each other because it's the same age group, same year group. So I'll tell some of these stories like, oh yeah, I knew that idiot. He was an idiot. Yeah.
You know what's funny? When I was ETSing from active duty, they tried to charge me for all the gear that I lost.
Really?
In that fire, yeah. And I had to jump through a bunch of extra hoops to prove that it was a field loss because of that fire. So like, oh, you don't have this, and this to turn back into CIF. I was like, well, yeah, because it all burnt to the ground.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about right.
It burned to the ground. that like smell, it lingered the rest of that deployment. And I remember that, and it like burned because I went through, we tried to find some stuff, because like family would send us stuff, and there was like little different things that I was trying to find. I had a ring that I had. It was like a family ring that I just probably shouldn't have brought on a deployment, but I had the last deployment before that. It was kind of a lucky charm because this is my second deployment by this time in 03, 04, and gone. Yeah, I lost all that crap. It burned
I remember.
all the
What was it? All the supplements that everybody was taking.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I remember. I remember walking up to where my tent was, and where my bunk was, and the smoldering remains of my Contigo box that were underneath my cot, and I was able to pry the lid open and get my half charred wallet out of it. And the social security card and my license survived, but that was it. Everything else was just melted plastic into like one giant blob.
So I was in full PT, like I said, and I had my wallet on me. I don't know why. I never did. So it was like, just again, by the grace of God, so I didn't lose like my IDs or anything. But again, most people lost everything. It was painful. And then they started donating. Remember they had like the big donation, like. So I've talked to people about this, like that were around that time, not just on that
like
base.
Other companies were donating clothes and stuff.
Yeah, so we got some of that stuff was donated from across like that area, from like different, not even just the 82nd. Like people were like, oh yeah, I remember that. I was like, we donated clothes. I was like, that's crazy. It's weird to be on the receiving end of that stuff and not,
The National Guard
well known. It was like well known. This was like a thing. Like these poor suckers, they lost all their stuff. We gotta give them clothes.
I mean, well, Tim, I got to tell you this. Going to CIF as an E8, heaven.
So I'm sure it was.
It was great. I had people helping me with my cart. It's like, whoa, Master Sergeant, let me help you out with that. It's like, I don't know what to do. It's like, come to the front of the line. It's like, are you sure? Yeah, don't worry. They'll wait.
To be fair, though, like CIF changed over the 15-year difference between the 22 that got out, because
yeah,
CIF
definitely
was miserable at Fort Bragg back when Tim left, when I left the 82nd, and then when I got out, when I retired, we retired around the same time, Rod, and it was like they're phenomenal over there now. They're like super helpful. They just they write everything off, but they were like so kind versus like they're just trying to get you to pay for everything.
Yeah.
Like
what? I had a similar experience when I went to MEPS to go back into the reserves as prior enlisted. Oh my God, they treat you like royalty if you're prior enlisted. Oh yeah. Like I remember going through the first time and it was like, I was Oliver Twist and, they trying to scrape me off the bottom of their shoe.
Yeah.
Going back through, man, front of the line for everything. You don't have to wait. They were nice to you. It was weird.
It's like real people.
Yeah, exactly. It was so bizarre.
That's funny.
Hey, when you guys enlisted, did you have any clue what your job was going to be?
I went in there specifically asking for something in electronics.
Same. That's the only thing I wanted. Something electronics. So I could take it with me because I was going to do 3 years and get out. So I wanted something I could like grab a hold and like do. But I had no idea what I was going to do. And luckily I was there and they were like, I passed all their tests or whatever, and like all the health tests, and like, hey, you're pretty healthy. You want to go to airborne school? And I was like, what's airborne school? What's airborne? They're like, you can jump on airplanes and we'll give you $150 a month. And I was like, yes, that sounds awesome. Let's do that. Because I didn't know what that was either.
I got the same speech. And all I heard was $150 a month.
Yeah. I always wanted to buy airplanes. I was like, that sounds cool. I'll do that. That's legit. Otherwise, I would have ended up at Fort Hood or something, or whatever it's called now. I'm like, that would have been awful.
Yeah. When I was at MEPS, they were started off with like, hey, do you want to be a cook? It's like, wait, what? It's like, no, not at all. It's like, I told you I wanted to be one of those guys with the bridges, doing something like that. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I don't know if we can give you that. Like, you have to score really high for those. It's like, okay, well, what else do you have? It's like, how about a diesel mechanic? You want to be a diesel mechanic? It's like, not really. It's like, how about do you want to wash like laundry? It's like, What? Well, what did I score? It's like, well, you only scored 97. It's like, out of what, a million? It's like, no, out of 99. It's like, so what are you saying? Well, we can't give you those jobs. So I ended up like leaving, like taking a break for like an hour. And then they came back. It's like, wow, we have this land combat missile system electronics repairer.
Right? They make
What
it
the
sound
hell
so
is that?
sexy.
Yeah, super
Like,
sexy.
it's like, what the hell is that? It's like, I don't know, but you get a $5,000 bonus. It's like, I'll take it. I'll take it.
That's so
So
funny.
yeah, I found out I enlisted at the wrong time of the year. I came in and I went to MEPS in July.
That's what I did. Yeah, same. It was the same.
I
But there
think I
wasn't that
was
much
in
to choose
May.
from then either. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. We were all in the same like AIT and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I went in. So I got hurt. I did something stupid, like hurt my elbow. Like I hyperextended it, so like I went like 45 degrees the opposite direction, which is still. I
Oh,
mean,
yeah.
20 some years later, I'll be lifting, I'll be doing something, raking like I was yesterday, and I'll be like, oh, why does my elbow hurt? I'm like, oh yeah, that stupid thing I did that caused me to join the army. So you think, so any young kids are probably not watching this, but if they do, those like things you do in your your past do. In this case, I would say it wouldn't haunt me because it really like changed the course of my life for the positive. I think I turned out pretty well, but at the time, I was really distraught. I didn't know what I was going to do. I lost a scholarship. I wasn't going to really go to college I wanted to go to because my mom came down. She's like, "Hey, she owned a restaurant in town, and she's like, "Hey, we're gonna have to close the restaurant, so I can't help you with college." And this, I had already graduated high school, so like it's July. Got hurt on the 3rd or 4th of July in 2000, and I was like, "What am I gonna?" So we got a big fight. I'm like, "I don't know what I'm gonna do. I can't stay here," and I just left and I joined the army, and like on a whim, basically. But yeah, same. Like there wasn't much to choose from, but I was like, I just wanted to do electronics. Because my uncle, I keep talking about, like he was in electronics and he had a job after, and he's liked it and whatever. He's a pretty smart guy, so I was like, well, let me at least do that because I don't want to be in the infantry because that sounds like I'm going to die in like 5 seconds if I go to combat. Because I'm thinking of like Vietnam movies I used to watch, like Platoon and all those movies, like Hamburger
Full Metal
Hill.
Jacket.
Like that's what I'm thinking in my head. Like, so when you say cook, I would have been thinking like, is that the guy who does the potatoes like the whole time, like the whole deployment? Like that sounds like what I don't want to do that either.
It's like, I don't want to be on KP all the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't know what KP was, but I definitely would have been like cook equals potatoes, and I feel like I don't want to peel potatoes all day every day. So that's funny.
I remember Forbes,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
the E7. I
Yeah, he
remember
was
talking
platoon
to him,
sergeant
and he
when I
was like,
first showed up there.
Yeah.
"Man, you should have gone like to wash the laundry. Like you would have been sergeant major.
That's right.
Like, you would have been sergeant major right away. Like nobody wants that job. Like, so it's like there's no competition. It's like
It's not even a job
that-
anymore.
that's one way to look at it. It's like, oh,
Man, he was a good dude. I really liked him, and like juxtaposed between like him and Brown too, because it was funny.
Night and day.
Yeah,
And he had
cared.
that giant bushy mustache.
Huge. Yeah, he got screwed, man. When he came home from, I think that deployment or one deployment, whatever, and he went to retire. His wife left him like at the same time. Like she was like leaving him, so he like changed. I don't know if you guys remember. He like came back like one day, and he was like wearing like Quicksilver clothes or something. He was like this like old like vet kind of guy with that big bushy. The mustache is gone. Like he's just trying to look a lot younger. And
I remember that.
yeah, and then so I'm like, oh well, good luck, man. Because he had like hemp. I remember like the hemp necklace he had. It was like really trying. And then she ended up leaving for some younger guy anyway. I was like, oh, God, that's. Then I saw him again. He worked for Raytheon. And he had that bush mustache again. Like, just be yourself, man. But she took like his time, all that stuff. Like, ugh, I felt terrible.
That sucks.
Sorry to bring that down.
Yeah.
He's a good dude.
did either of you keep in touch with Wade?
Mm-mm.
You know, I remember I tried contacting him shortly after I got off of active duty because I knew that he had gone to work for Raytheon.
Mm-hmm. That's right, he did.
And I was trying to see if there was any openings wherever he was at with Raytheon. And I think nothing ever came of it, but I think he responded to me, but that was kind of where it ended. That was back in like late 2007, 2006 maybe. Yeah.
I think the last time I saw him was in 2008, and I went back over to the 82nd to go see him in the old shop, and he was still there. But that's 16 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Horsehead, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I haven't
Who
kept up
else
with
was
too
there?
many people. I'm really bad. Like, I always want to keep up with people, then like just life is just. But you know what? Every time I talk to people though, from the past, like it's always like we never left each other. You know, like this right here, just
Yeah,
talking
true.
with y'all. It's like the relationship's still there. It's just on pause.
Yeah, that's kind of what I like about this because now I can talk to people that I want to talk to, not people I have to talk to because it's a working relationship. It's like, all
Mm-hmm.
right. There's this one guy, I reference him a lot on this podcast, Benny Good Times. He is without a doubt. I don't care how stupid you think Beetlejuice was or anybody else that you met in the military. Benny Good Times is without a doubt the dumbest person who has ever walked the face of the earth. A moron. I didn't give him that name. The Peruvians gave him that name. All right. I just happened to fall in after he left, and I had to make like, sweet Jesus, what were you doing here, bro? And yeah, that guy, he's a moron. But I don't ever have to see him again. I don't have to talk to him. You know, if you needed help with something, yeah, I'll help you out. I would probably tell you that I think you're a big moron, but sure, I'll
Yeah.
help you out. And that's what I like about this now. It's like I can just stay in touch with people that I want to stay in touch with, and
Selectively. Yeah.
I like to see, like, I tell people that I work with, the E8s, like, yeah, you know, I hear all their theories. Well, I think you can find a job if you just apply yourself. It's like, well, how would you know? You haven't tried. It's like, well, I have a plan. Awesome, dude. What are you counting on? Well, I bring leadership. Never mind. We're done here.
Yeah. Don't you know who I'm a veteran? Like,
Yeah. It's like, I
I
bring
mean, that
leadership.
might
So
get you a
what you're
conversation, but that's it.
Oh, so
the
you're saying
company
you have
that
no
you're applying
tangible
for
skills?
has never had leadership? Then how is it like functioning? How is it still in business?
Yeah. There's this stuff just bothers me, man. I love veterans, and all I want to do is help people. I really, truly do. I really want to help mentor or help them with opportunities because it's a population of people who, you know, even if they're the dumbest person on the earth, you know, at least they volunteer to help, right? At least they
Yeah.
put themselves out there, especially in a time of war or multiple wars. So I do appreciate that, but that doesn't make you deserve, you know, everything in the world. You still have to work for the things you have. It might give you an opportunity, it might open the door for you, but it's still on you to take that opportunity and run for it or run with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely
Yeah.
agree.
And I try to tell people, you know, when I was younger, before I joined the military, I thought I deserved things, right? Like, I don't know if you understand this, but I graduated high school
I
with
know
a high
everything. I'm a
GPA,
teenager. I knew everything.
so I
Yeah.
deserve everything. And now, bro, I just want an opportunity. And like, if you
Mhm.
tell me no, that's fine. I just want a chance to compete. That's all.
Yeah, it's fair.
And I don't care what your reason is. You can tell me you're too old, you're too fat, you're too bald, whatever. You're too Mexican. You're not Mexican enough. Whatever it is, you know. I heard that in my journeys in South America. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
you're you're not a real American. Wait, what? And I heard, well, you're not a real Mexican either. It's like, well, what the hell am I?
What am I? Yeah,
It's like, you're one of those.
yeah.
It, I don't think that's an option on the little boxes when I apply to jobs. One of those, but that's all I'm looking for is just an opportunity, and you know, hopefully we can help some guys, people who are retiring or whatever. Like, hey, you're not alone. We've all been through it,
Hmm.
and you know, let some of that ego go,
Let it all
because
go, man. Let it all go, and don't. let that self or that sense of entitlement go, and remember where you came from, and and people will relate to that a lot better. Like I there's a lot of opportunity out there for people, if you're willing to work for it, and there's a lot of resources out there too. So if our veterans are watching this, like there's so many resources out there. So if you're in a tough spot, whether it's, you get out of the stressful situation because you get out of the military and you're transitioning, you don't know what to do, or, your family's going through a hard time, or, PTSD is a real thing. I suffer with it a lot, there are resources out there to help people, and just reach out, man. Because I would rather, not to get emotional about it, man, but I've lost more friends for suicide and opiates, and that's across civilians and military opiates, and people just trying to numb the pain. There's so many resources out there. People want to help. Shout out to Jesus, man. He saved me. He saved me, and I was a real alcoholic for a long time. High functional alcoholic. Not to toot my own horn, but I was a high functioning alcoholic. But I'm drinking at least a bottle of vodka or whiskey a night, every night. I wouldn't even blink an eye. I'd be like, oh man, I should probably get two. You know what I mean? And just causing pain to the people who love me around me. So I've been there. I've been through all of that, and I was really saved by Christ. And it'll help other people too. But even if that's not the way the path you want to go on, or you're not ready for that, there's resources out there that people want to help. There's plenty of people out there that will help. Just call, man. Call, text, email, something, because that it's hard to do it. It's hard to say, I need help, but just do it, and then it'll come upon you. People will be there to help you. You don't kill yourself. Like I'm not sure to be lied about it, but it's like it breaks my heart, because I can't say we've all thought about it, but I mean, I've been in some dark places in my life, and luckily I didn't go down that path, but it could have easily gone down that path. So just reach out to somebody, and we'll help you out, man. I'll help you. Call me, email me. I'll put you into contact with people who are really trained to do that kind of stuff. Sorry, I just want to throw that out there because I think it's really important.
No, you're right. I try to explain this to people. So if you go to combat and you get shot, or you break a bone or something, right? Like that's a badge of courage, and you're told to talk about it, right? You're given a Purple Heart. Go out there, like we're gonna parade you around to show everybody your Purple Heart.
Mm-hmm.
But when you come back and you have problems up here, it's like, shh, don't talk about it. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
And it's like you're taught to be ashamed of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and I don't have a problem talking about it anymore. I don't have a problem talking about, I've thought about starting a 9 mil multiple times.
Yeah, man.
This past holiday season, I thought about it a couple of times, because the holiday season is hard on me. But I don't want to do that. If I do that, then I can't go see Iron Maiden in November. Right.
You know what's I mean, I talk about Jesus, man, and that's really what really truly got that monkey off my back. Get the alcohol, get all those bad thoughts off my back. So I really praise that. But what kept me, the one thing that really kept that thought from taking hold all the way, although it was close a bunch of times, was the likelihood, and I don't know if this is true, I feel like it is, I never really looked it up, but in my head it was always true, the likelihood of your children committing suicide after you have is way higher.
It increases by at least 25%.
Yeah, and that right there, that right there was, that made me think, like, take a second and think, like, okay, well, what is this going to do to my family? What is this going to do to my children? Like, yeah, maybe I'm not in a good place. Maybe I'm not being a good father. Maybe I'm not being the good man. But I can get better, man. I can give me that opportunity. Like you said, I can get better. And that opened that window for, to get better, like that. And again, I keep saying it, but like, I really, brought to Christ, especially over the last couple of years, just really grabbed a hold of my faith, and it's pulled me through. a lot of dark times because alcohol wasn't doing it, man. Alcohol, and that's all you have in the military is alcohol, and they just shove it down your throat, and it's great. You have good times, and it's all super fun. It's all super good, and then it's not anymore. You're not. It's not, and for me anyway. I was just in a drain, and I was like for the second time, my second marriage is starting to drain, and I was just like, I gotta. This can't be my life. I don't want to not be here, but I don't want to be here and live this life anymore. I got to be better.
You know, I think part of the issue too is that when you're in the military, is they don't give you any tools to cope with those things. They don't teach you. You know what I mean? There's a lot of knowledge that you can use, and you can't do it all by yourself, obviously. But you know, people don't have coping tools, and that's why people turn to alcohol. That's why I turn to alcohol. You know, is because oh well, I could deal with this, or I could just numb it away and forget it exists.
Yep. And it was fun. We had so much fun when we were younger, drinking. It was great. Yeah. And all the friends kind of.
Yeah. And then it wasn't.
I don't know. I drank by myself, so it wasn't really.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what it is. Like I always had so much fun when I was out. I'm obviously an extrovert. I talk everyone's ear off, but
what? No,
that's crazy. I don't know. But you know, for those introverts like Timmy, I would like, hey, it's time to go, man. Let's get outside because he'd be drinking by himself too. We're going to the bars, brother. We're gonna go have fun. We're gonna go find some girls. We're gonna go do something, and it was so much fun. But then you know, it all end up by yourself eventually, and sucking down those same bottles, and then feeling like you're alone, even though people are all around you, and they love you, and you still feel alone, and that sucks. Super sucks. But it doesn't have to end that way. It can get better. You just gotta put that alcohol down. It's not gonna help.
So
for me,
I
that's how I was.
I didn't want my children to know that I was a coward.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like you might think I'm a bad father, you might think I'm a horrible husband, you might think I'm a worse person, but I don't want you to know definitively that I'm a coward.
Mm-hmm.
And now, like I say, you know, I have that Iron Maiden concert in November, right? Well, I set goals for myself, right? Like I ran the half marathon in Myrtle Beach a couple of weeks ago, and next year I'm going to run the full marathon. And I'm going to try to qualify for the Boston.
Yeah, good luck, brother.
And they're just little goals that I set for like a year in advance. So, well, I can't do it today because I have to go run that marathon next year, right? And that helps me. That helps me,
dude. I'm the same way, man. I think I told you before this started. I need to have those goals too. And I need to have goal. I'm very goal oriented anyway. So like I have like mental goals, things like I'm gonna read this book or I'm gonna, you know, do this class or whatever. But I have to have physical goals too. And I didn't really realize that until I got out of the military. And I got out during COVID. So I was an alcoholic and I was just drinking like crazy. And then COVID happened and it was just like, well, I have nothing else to do, literally nothing else to do. I'm not going to work. I'm not retired yet. I'm just going to drink my face off all day, every day. And I blew up like a balloon. So I got out of the military. I'm like 180 now. That's my healthy weight. I was 115, like 35 pounds of weight. It was crazy. I just looked, and all my gained weight in my stomach and my neck. So I just look like a big fat, just gross. And that's just more depressing, just kind of like in that cycle of like, I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I feel. I don't like the way I am, you know, and I'll just drink more and then numb that away. And then I had really had like that shift of like a lot of like realizations. But one of them, like you were saying, is setting those physical goals. So last year I did the Spartan race, the 10K. And then this year I'm doing the trifecta. So which keeps me in the gym. Like that just keeps me running, not fast. I don't need to win. I just want to do it. You know, I don't need to be the best at everything. I just want to challenging myself to, you know, I get up, I'm already up early anyway. I don't sleep very much. So I get up instead of like hanging out and doing some nonsense, watching the news and getting depressed about the world. I go to the gym and I get that energy out and I get those endorphins going, or I go for a run at lunch and I get those endorphins going. And like it clears my mind. I think through things. I don't drink as much or at all. And it's a much better place, man. And therapy is important. And, like talk to people, just talking like this is therapy to me. Like talking to you guys about this stuff, talking about those old times talking about stuff I've never talked about, the suicide stuff. Like talking it out makes you just get it out loud, hear it, and like it just like, oh crap, that's a real thing. And that was, I don't know, kind of work through it instead of like it's in your head and you're thinking about it nonstop and you're spiraling and no one's thinking about, no one knows or whatever.
No, I think that's great advice. That was probably one of the single biggest things that helped me was therapy. And like you were talking about earlier, how we were, don't mention it, don't talk to anybody, don't let anybody know that you're having issues. I paid for that out of my own pocket while I was still in because I didn't want anybody to know.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's important, and I'm glad you did.
It is.
I love you, buddy, and it'd
me
break
too.
my heart if you weren't here.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Likewise, my friend.
So my dissertation topic started off as a comparative analysis of the United States and Colombia, the factors that lead veterans to join extremist groups, right? Right now, I'm doing a lot of literature research, just the literature review, and I'm looking at the gaps between like the Department of Defense and the Department of Veterans Affairs, like because there's no handoff.
Mm-mm.
Like you get treatment from here, but once they realize like we can't fix you, you're no longer of service to us, we're just gonna let you go. There's like no handoff to this organization. And part of what I'm finding out is that the administrators that work at the Department of at the VA just need some retraining. That seems where a bit of the hiccup is, because the providers seem to, when they get you, actually provide quality treatment.
Yeah,
but it's from the time where you're getting past those administrators who are a bunch of retirees and just upset. And I don't know if it's good to know or bad, but it's kind of the same thing in Colombia, but they don't have a VA. It's what their system that they work with. Just getting to the providers.
It's real. I mean, that's interesting, man. And it's true. Like the provider I have, I'm local in the Fayetteville area, and I go to that Sanford. I mean, it's phenomenal. Like, but you're right. Like getting to that point was painful, but now that I have the provider, I just message, and like if you are in the VA system and you're having problems, they're required to respond to your message on eHealth Vet within like a 72-hour period, and they have to do it, or it's like a really bad problem for them. So if you have one of those providers or one of those systems that like it's not treating you the way you should be treated, start messaging, and then they will get back to you immediately. But I do use that app a lot because I just find it's easier instead of trying to call. I just type a little message and they get back to me. But there have been phenomenal. I am a disabled vet. I may look pretty healthy because I've been taking care of myself. For Lent, I gave up. Obviously, alcohol's gone, but caffeine and bread and all the crap. So that's been really helpful. But the inside is still painful and broken. So getting those appointments to go to the chiropractor or to the neurologist or to whatever other provider has been imperative to keep me, keep the pain down, so I can work on mental health, so I can work on other things, so I can be there for my family and have that work-life balance. So I think it's really important. And like you said, like the providers want to help. They're there. 99% of them want to be there for you to help you, but you have to do your part too.
I get that too. It's like, well, you don't look like you're disabled. Well, I don't know if you can look into my head.
Right.
I don't know if you have that capability.
Or
Secondly,
X-ray.
Yeah, it's like I don't know if you like can conduct an MRI through your eyes, but to look at both of my shoulders, my hip, my spine, and basically the left side of my body is useless.
Left, yeah, mine too. It's funny.
And from 21 years of doing PLFs on my left side, because I never landed on my right. It was either my left or my ass. That was it.
Yeah, that makes sense. I never put those two together. My whole left side's messed up too. It's like my left shoulder, left ankle, left hip, and I've never
thought about that. But now that you mention it, I was also a left side PLF guy.
It just felt easier for me going to my left.
Yeah, I can just do it now. I go on my right. It still feels weird. Like I can't fall to the right. I fall to the left. That is 100% it, man. That you just solved that mystery.
And that's
That's
what I tell
bizarre.
people. It's like the ID blast and the RPG, yeah, that did a number on me.
Mm.
But 21 years of landing out of airplanes on my left side, yeah, it took its toll.
That's so
You know, and
And
like,
you say
yeah, you guys
landing,
don't see that, but
controlled
like
crash.
when I raise my arms, this arm goes up. This is up, and this is as far as this one goes.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
There's a good surgeon. I had my left shoulder done. So they removed my labrum, and now it's like I probably can't see it in the video, but so they don't repair. Well, at least at this place, they do like real like up to date techniques. They don't repair labrum because you're most likely going to have that torn again really soon after your surgery. So they removed it and they tied it into my bicep into the bone like lower down, and it took 12 16 weeks and it was healed, and now it definitely works better, which is nice. Still hurts sometimes, but it works better. It's Raleigh hand to shoulder center, so shout out to them. They're phenomenal. Those doctors are great. My wife had a surgery there. She had nerve damage in her wrist due to some malpractice somewhere else, and they fixed that. So just shout out to those guys. They're phenomenal.
well, my left shoulder, they said it's like, yeah, you're sorry, buddy. The only thing we can do is like shoulder replacement
Mm.
because your labrum's been gone so long that like the bottom of the humerus,
Mm-hmm.
it's like growing a goatee, like
Damn.
trying to support itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, and you see all those little spots, like those are like blisters on bone. If that makes any sense, it's like that doesn't sound good. It's like, yeah, you're not supposed to have that. It's like, you see all these little spikes that are forming. It's like that's your body trying to compensate for the lack of a labrum. It's like, if you continue to lift weights, you'll probably last another year. If you stop, I don't know, 10, 15 years. It's like, we'll see. I don't know.
That's brutal.
It's like, awesome. So,
well, man, I would reach out to them anyway, just for an opinion, because
Yeah.
or even for your other shoulder, because like they're phenomenal. Like I have full motion in my left arm again, which I didn't. It was way more similar to you. I didn't have all the issues you're talking about. I have a beard on my humerus. I can't grow a beard here. I can't grow a beard on my humerus either.
the only reason why I don't go through with the surgery is because I want to play golf. And they said, if you get shoulder replacement surgery, like you're not playing golf again. I was like, then I'll wait.
Well, it sounds like you're not playing golf in a few years anyway. Might as well do something.
Well, if I get one more week out of golf, then that's one more week. Another year and a half, whatever I can get. I don't care. Like, I understand, Chris, like being in damn Latin America, Southeast Asia, and Africa, and damn Iraq, there's not a whole lot of golf going on. So,
I mean, I've been
trying
to
to
all
catch
those
up on
fancy countries that you're talking about. Oh, it's like fancy countries, but I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan a lot.
country.
All those, what would you say, Latin America and Southeast Asia? That sounds cool. Wish I've been there.
You know what?
We mostly went to the sand trap countries. Okay.
Well, yes, and everybody thinks that it's like, oh, it's so great. Yeah, I wasn't in the capital. It's like, hey, we're gonna put you like right in the middle of malaria and dengue central, and that's where you're gonna stay.
That's good. I know. It's
like,
it's same problems, just different area.
I wanted to go on Naked and Afraid. It's like, man, I'll just eat. I'll just gain like 20, 30 pounds, and like I'm already fat. I'll just be fatter. I'll go on there. I'll last it. But then I saw where they were going. It's like, you're sending them to Guyana? It's like, sorry, buddy. Like, I was getting eaten alive by mosquitoes, and I had full pants and long sleeve shirts on. I'm not going naked. No way.
Yeah.
So we're going on about an hour and a half now. So
yeah, I'm at the
you
college
guys
here.
have any shout outs or anything you might want to promote?
But
No.
Tim, you go first.
You were asking me?
Both of you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. No, just last time I shout out my wonderful wife who puts up with my nonsense and my craziness. She's my best friend and my other half, you know. So big shout out to her.
So
yeah,
Jim,
same, man.
your props, do you do that just for yourself, or is that like a side business?
Mainly just for myself. I mean, I have made one or two other small things for other people, but I typically just do it because there were things that I wanted that I couldn't buy anywhere. And it was the same reason that I made the proton pack from the first Ghostbusters movie as well. And that took me like, oh God, 6, 8, almost 8 months to do that, to build that one. But it came out well, and it hangs on the over the wall over there.
It's
And
awesome. Looks
yeah,
legit.
so it's all just for my own personal enjoyment.
Well, you might want to consider starting like a small business, maybe doing something on the side. If you know, I got my Vegeta in my office. You can't see it, but there's a lot of Dragon Ball Z stuff going on up here. So I like going to the cons, and you'd be surprised at how many people want to go to the cons dressed up, but they don't actually want to build their own costume.
No, you're absolutely right.
I'm one of them.
The Phoenix Comic Con that happened right after I finished the proton pack, I went as a Ghostbuster with that proton pack because it has the full lights and sounds that the movie packs have. It's like a 99% movie accurate replica, and I got mobbed by people who wanted to take pictures with it and stuff, and it was crazy. I was not expecting that at all.
Yeah, it's insane. I go every year to the one here in Raleigh. I get the VIP pass because I'm old. I don't want to stand in line and wait. And plus, I'm not 19 anymore, so I can afford the VIP pass. Move away, kid. I don't care if you're 8 years old and you've been waiting here 5 hours.
I got the fast pass, kid. Move it.
You know who I am. Someday you'll be here when you're old, like me.
Yeah, and I like going. Actually, I do get the VIP pass, but the people I want to see, there isn't a big line anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It's I'm not going there to see the guys from Twilight or all the vampire movies from like the early 2010s. So
I'm going there to see the guy who played Jason Voorhees.
I like to go see the old wrestlers.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Like, bro, you got old, like, not in a good way.
There's that show now. What is it? Dark Behind the Ring or whatever it is. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then there are a lot of those Rogan podcasts too. I like to listen to them also, like the Ric Flair and Hogan, all those guys. It's cool stories, man. And it reminds me when I was like a young kid. And it's interesting to hear like the stories, like when you think what's going on, and then you hear what's actually going on. It's like 100% different. You're like, that is wild. And you were treated like a big piece of shit the entire time. And you were my hero. Like for all of us when we were kids, like looking up to these guys, like I want to do that. That looks amazing. And then you realize like, oh, it sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah. So for shout outs, I don't really have any except for my daughter. She's graduating May 3rd from the University of Alabama.
Nice.
In hospitality management, and should be hearing here in the next couple of weeks if she's accepted to Duke for their MBA program.
Nice.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, congrats.
I said you can apply to Duke or go to graduate school, or you can get a job. It's like, I'll go to graduate school. Good choice. Good choice. It's like avoid reality as long as you can.
Not the cheap choice for sure, but definitely a good choice.
Well, I didn't tell them. I was like, hey, you're not applying to UNC Pembroke. No offense to anybody who went to Pembroke. But if I'm paying for it, like you're going to apply to Duke, buddy.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
Okay. So don't, if you can get it in there, then go. Like, don't settle for what you think you can afford.
Yeah, no, that's good advice.
Reach for the stars, buddy. Reach for the stars. So until next time, everybody, take it easy. Hope you got something out of this podcast, and we'll talk to you later. Zot, zot, zot. Roll Tide.